Okay, so I have a confession to make. I am a total tool app lover. Like, I get really excited when I find something that makes my work easier or more fun. And honestly, I could spend an hour setting up an automation that saves me 5 minutes. And here's the thing, those 5 minutes add up so quickly, and I could be doing other things with those 5 minutes, spending that time in a better way. So, if you're like me and love finding ways to work smarter, not harder, then stick around because I think you're going to find something useful here today. Welcome to Website Design Made Simple, the podcast for busy small business owners who want a high performing website that converts and sells their offers, even while they're sleeping. Because you deserve to have a strategic and beautiful website that truly represents your brand and positions you as the expert that you are. I'm your host, Jenny B, web designer and creative director at Jenny B Designs, where we believe that your website is the one thing that makes you sales and builds your brand at the same time. Ready to say goodbye to a website that you're embarrassed to share? And hello to a money-making, personality-packed powerhouse? Let's head into today's episode. Hello, welcome back to the pod. Thank you for joining me today. Today, we're kind of in the midst of summer, and I know that summer is slower, and I feel as though not as many people are tuning in regularly to the show. So I thought I would depart from my normal how-to website design tips for this week and share some tools that I'm really loving this summer that have helped automate my workflow. And a lot of them are using AI. And by sharing this information, I thought that you might be able to come up with ways that you too can implement these tools in your workflow to make your life work a little bit easier. Because if you're anything like me, you like simplifying as much as possible and getting as much of your free time back as you can. And it's been my goal over the last year to implement tools that do help me get more free time to myself. And instead of spending that time putting it more into the business, I have been working hard to enjoy life outside of working on my business in my everyday. And I hope that you can utilize these tools and find some fun and joy in your life too. So let's get into the episode. The first thing that I want to chat about is how I have been using chat. And actually, I use Claude as my chatbot. It's very similar to ChatGPT. There are a lot of them out there. I find that the responses from Claude are a little bit more personable, and I use a lot of the help for my marketing tasks. So using Claude is a better fit for me for that option. So the first thing that I've been using Claude for is I have been using it for brainstorming and episode planning. And Claude introduced an audio feature where I have the app on my phone, and what I can do, and I find I like to do this a lot when I'm driving, I have things running through my brain. I open up the app and then I start doing some voice recording, and I'll chat about, a recent client call or a recent project that we just launched and talk about all of the things that I learned throughout the process and how it turned out. And then ask chat to brainstorm with me some podcast episodes that I could do around what I was just sharing. And it's given me some really, really creative feedback with being able to chat audio with it. So that's the first thing that I like to do. I like to help it give me brainstorming for my content ideas. I also like to chat with it to help me do the outlines for my shows. A lot of times I come up with a topic I'm really passionate about, and when I think of the topic, I have 6 or 7 points that I want to make and things that I want to talk about. And so what I do is I share with it, I'd like to do an episode on this topic, and these are the points that I want to share. Maybe I talk about some of the projects that I recently have, and then I ask it to come out with an outline. And this just helps me really stay on track with my episodes. I was finding before I was utilizing AI that I was spending so much more time coming up with my episodes, the content, but more so putting it in the right order so it makes sense for the listener. Because at the end of the day, we're all busy and I want to share with you my knowledge, but I want to do it in a way that gets you to be able to take action on it and to be organized about it. So helping me organize my content has been great. Another way that I've been using AI and Claude specifically is to help me with my website audits that I do for my clients. When someone orders a website audit with me. This is a deep dive. When someone orders a website audit, I ask for access to their Google Analytics and their Google Search Console. If they've been using any heat mapping tools, I ask for that. And then I open up their website and I look at it from the front end and I look at it at the back end. And what I do is I open up a window in Descript, which is going to be one of my other tools that I'm going to talk about later on in the podcast. I open up their website using Descript and I record. And I record an in-depth audit. I go through page by page on the website. I'm looking at the keywords that they're using. I'm looking at their analytics, finding out where people are coming on their website, they're leaving, looking at their calls to action, everything. And I am speaking it into, I'm recording a video into Descript. And it's a very thorough video. And at the end of the video, I'm done. I stop recording and I have the transcript from my Descript. I pull that transcript, and this I actually use ChatGPT for because I find that Chat is a little bit more structured. And I pull the transcript into Chat and I have some prompts asking it to create a report based on my audit. And what it does, because I've worked with it for a fair amount of time, I've actually created a custom GPT. It gives me an output that I have created to share with the client. And the output shares things that I want to talk about on the specific pages, like the home page, the about page, and then talking about the navigation, then talking about overall design, SEO section, things like that. But by doing this, I am able to verbalize and just kind of like brain dump everything in that video. And when I put that information into Chat, it creates this beautiful report that I can share with my clients. And it makes it easy for my client to be able to digest that information. And it also comes with a to-do list on what they need to do on their end to take care of all the actions that I share. This has helped me tremendously. I do something similar for my strategy calls where I'm recording the call and I get the transcript. And then I ask Chat to create a summary and to create tasks for myself and my clients. This saves so much time. Anything can be done. If you're able to record and get the transcript of anything, then the amount of information and how you can digest that information is just 20-fold what you can do. Think about ways that you can use AI to help you in your systems and to get a little bit back of some of your time. So that's tool number one. And this is kind of the AI option that I was talking about. Tool number two I want to talk about is my Arc browser. In this, I mentioned, I think I shared this in a few emails that I've sent out, but it's a browser that allows you to have bookmarks and also organization for your tabs. Because if you're anything like me, you have a million tabs open at one time. I always do. And I find that that's just how my brain works. And I don't want to close all those tabs, but nothing is worse than seeing all those tabs atop of your screen. What I've been using is Arc browser. And it allows you to have a beautiful dashboard. And I have one for my business and I have one for my personal that I can easily change by just swiping left or right. It allows you to have some icons. It's almost like they look like apps. And on the left-hand side, I have my Gmail, my calendar. I have LinkedIn, a couple of sites that I use for my website design projects up in the left-hand corner. Then below that, it allows you to have folders of your open tabs. And what I like to do is have a folder for each client that has under that folder their Google Drive that we're sharing, any links that we're sharing throughout the project, our client portal, anything else that I want to save for that client. And it's under a folder. And I can easily open and close the folder. And that's where all the links are for the project. I can also save other links that I want to keep. For example, like I mentioned before, my Claude is always open on the left. I use Airtable. Airtable is always open as well. Anything that you want to save. And it has saved my sanity because I feel like while I do have so many tabs open, it still is a little bit organized and neat and tidy. If you're looking for something to help you stay a little bit more organized with your tabs, then you might want to think about looking at the Arc browser. It's a really, really cool option. The next tool that I'm loving, and I don't know if anyone has checked this out recently, but Canva had an update, I want to say in early June. Might even been the end of May. We all got it at different times, where it has Canva code. If you open up Canva and then you hit Canva, it says code. If you click that, you're able to create designs where you can get the code. You can create price calculators. You can create, there's a font accessibility is one of the examples. What I have been using it for is custom timelines. You can create a beautiful coded timeline that you can use on your website. And it has enabled me to create these beautiful custom coded, I want to say like applications, but not applications, animations almost, these really cool designs. And it's neat because it allows you to do something that used to be so difficult to do using code. And what I have also been doing is creating designs over here and then grabbing the code and popping it into a chat and then working with it a little bit more. But if you haven't already checked it out, I encourage you to open up Canva, go to Canva AI, and go to Code for Me. And when you click that, you can create a bunch of different things that you can be really creative and see if there's something that you can add to your website. My next tool that I'm loving this summer, and this has been going strong for a long time, is my Airtable and Zapier connection. I talk about this a lot. Zapier probably should be its own section. Maybe I'll talk about it right after this, but Airtable, I have a Airtable going of all my podcast episodes, and this is where I keep my podcast flow. It creates the podcast title and the outline. I come up with this actually working manually with chat and talking through, or Claude talking through. And then once I've gotten that outline that I want to record the episode, I record in Descript, which is one of my fun tools. And after I record in Descript, I grab that transcript and put it into my Airtable. And I have a few different zaps set up. When I do that, and I change the category, the tag from in progress to repurpose, it sets off a zap that I've created in Zapier. And what that means is just I've set something up where I have a bunch of different prompts that it's going to send information to ChatGPT in this case. And it's going to give it some prompts, and then it's going to return the answers back into that Airtable cell where I want that answer to be. And when I put that transcript in and I tell it to repurpose that transcript, I am hit back with a bunch of repurposing information. The first one is my description for my podcast description that I'm going to put in my podcast player. The next is a potential LinkedIn post. I have a Facebook post. It comes back with an email newsletter idea. It also comes back with a blog post that I can add to my blog, and then a few other additional items that I haven't been using, such as if I was going to repurpose for YouTube and things like that. Once that information comes through, I am able in Airtable to go through it and to edit the content that it has given me, because I don't take anything straight out from chat or straight out from Claude. It needs a little bit of manipulation to make it sound like me, but it gives me such a great basis for how to create this information to repurpose essentially my podcast episode. This saves me hours of time for each episode that I publish. That's the first way that I use Airtable. The second way that I use Airtable is for when I have a project, and I have a different Airtable set up for my projects. When I complete a project, I enter some information about the project into the Airtable, and then I have a cell where I just kind of freeform and talk about the project and where we started, where we ended, anything that I wanted to share that happened in between, and the results that the client potentially had. I have another zap set up for when I fill that information out and I change the status, that it will send it over for a prompt and come back with a few different posts for social media and a blog post case study based on the information that I've given it. That's the second way that I use Airtable. Airtable is a great option. It's kind of like an Excel, but meatier and stronger, and you're able to do so many things with it. And those are the two main ways that I use Airtable. Now, most of my life is in Notion, but Notion doesn't have that powerful integration with Zapier that I'm able to set off these automations with. That's why these two pieces of my business have stayed in Airtable, and I think they will for a while. I find it really simple and easy to use over there. So that's Airtable that I want to share with you. Maybe I'll just mention Zapier as the next tool because I did mention it as part of the Airtable. Zapier is a automation tool where it connects two apps that don't necessarily talk to each other. And I did another episode. I will link it down below. It's episode 5, what I'm loving the apps and tools I use in my website design business. And I talk a lot about Zapier there, so I won't go into the nitty-gritty details. But Zapier allows me to connect two apps, and I have some Zaps set up for when I have a new client that pays through a contract. I have an onboarding flow set up. As I mentioned before, my social media flows. I have it when someone schedules a consultation with me and they click the box that they want to be added to my newsletter. Then a Zap sets off, they're added to my workflow in Kit. Of course, getting their permission. I have a bunch of automation set up in Zapier. So if you're trying to connect two pieces of tech and they don't talk to each other natively, you could check out Zapier. It might be a great way to save a few minutes of your day, and every few minutes add up. Okay, the next tool is Descript, and I've mentioned this in a couple of my other items. Descript is where I record my podcast episodes, I edit them. When I was doing my YouTube videos, this is where I did all of that. And this is where I record all my videos. It's essentially replaced Loom. Back in the day, if you remember, you used to be able to get a number of videos through Loom. You could get the transcript. You could do everything. And since then, they've cut down on what you can do, even in the paid version. I find that it's just a lot that you're not allowed to do. With Descript, I can record videos for however long I want. There is no time limit. And I get the transcript. Those are the two most important pieces that I need. Because like I shared, that transcript, I'm able to do so many things in AI getting that transcript. So if you're recording something, if you're recording screen reviews, or if you're recording audio, whatever you might be doing, consider Descript. It might be a nice option. And because you can get that transcript, you can do so many additional things with it. So those are the tools that I wanted to share with you. Let's go through them. The first is AI. I'm loving Claude Audio specifically, but I also use ChatGPT. The second is the Arc browser. Then there's Canva Code. And then there is Airtable, and I'm going to pop in Zapier there as well as its own tool. And finally, Descript for video recording. Like I shared, these tools all solve specific problems that I have, and they are saving me time out of my day. And some of them are free and some of them are paid, but I find that the tools that I am paying for, the amount of time and free time that they're giving back to my life benefits me so greatly that they are worth the cost to me. So if you have any tools that you're loving this summer, shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I would love to hear from you. It's fun to learn from others what is working with them. And I enjoy listening to podcast episodes where people share about how they are using tools, because it always triggers something in my mind that, yes, I could be using this for my workflow here. So I hope you had that same idea as you were listening to this episode and you got something useful out of it. And I will talk to you next week. And that wraps up another episode of Website Design Made Simple. I hope you found the insights shared in this episode valuable and takes you one step closer to creating a website that attracts more of your ideal clients and builds your brand. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a minute to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or a rating on Spotify. Your review will help us reach more small business owners like you who are ready to make more money with their website. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.